Hi there. Issues of finance are essential for Africa's vision of industrialization and rejuvenation, and challenges such as a rising external debt, outflow of capital, and limited foreign exchange reserves must be overcome. With a growing Chinese business presence in Africa, more Chinese financial institutions are either setting up their own branches or creating joint ventures with the local institutions. What is the general picture of the financing institutions or situation in Africa? How does cooperation in finance work between China and Africa? To discuss these issues and more, I'm very happy to speak with Zhang Jingguo, CEO of the China Construction Bank, Johannesburg branch, and chairman of the South Africa-China Economic and Trade Association. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui. Welcome to Dialogue, sir. First of all, what do you think of your niche here in this dynamic continent on the eve of your vast expansion here to assist with the massive industrialization program that was first raised 3 years ago by President Xi Jinping in his 10-point proposal?
Yes, it's a very good question. CCB actually already played in this market for 18 years. And especially since last FOCAC in Africa, CCB likes to focus on this market, strongly support the infrastructure project and industrialization project. We cooperate with the very important local partners. For example, the largest stock list financial institution, First Round. We cooperate with them to finance a lot of local big projects, especially for the past 3 years. And another important partner, the IDC, the Industrialization Development Corporation, is the largest industrialization finance provider in South Africa. We provide finance for this company. We also busy with build up the joint fund with IDC about $2 billion. So we directly also finance many the large projects. For example, Transnet, the largest transportation corporation in South Africa, and MTN, the telecommunication company, and the SASO, this kind of even the whole African continent largest company. We built up the branch here since year 2000. So we contributed more than $10 billion. So it's quite a huge amount. And recently, the whole group is still busy with studying this market, how to support China and Africa's trade and economic cooperation, and especially so many large Chinese enterprises come into this market.
There's no question about the vision and the ambitions of CCB, along with other Chinese financial institutions, to facilitate the expansion here. The issue, I'm afraid, most Chinese observers would raise at this defining moment of a China-Africa relationship is the profit margin. Are you going to make money?
This is a more professional question. Yes, this market is full of risk. So usually we talk about is a risk revenue balanced, either high risk or high revenue. But in this market, it's quite matured, because especially South Africa market is more developed finance market. It cannot make a huge money. But we looked in this market for, as I mentioned, 18 years. We understand the market. We understand our client, our partner.
What are the major obstacles that get in the way for your further and quick expansion here in South Africa?
When you enter into African market, different countries, different risk. In some African countries, you need to understand a lot of risk, not like foreign exchange risk. So many Chinese, not only financial institutions, but also the big companies. They made a lot of money, but finally, year end, the funds made a loss because foreign exchange rate fluctuated too much. So the bank, actually also the opportunity for the banks. For example, CGB, we help them. We already have some large Chinese enterprises manage the foreign exchange risk. They benefit a lot. I remember once a year, they benefit at least 100 million rand. So elevated this kind of risk.
On the primary stage of your development in Africa, you got to have your near-term objectives, mid-term objectives, and the long-term return of the investment. Tell us briefly your realistic assessment about the near-term achievement here in the market.
For the short term, it mainly depend on the relationship, like the economic relation between China and Africa, because the South Africa and Southern Africa full of risk, because in the past they mainly rely on the Europe and the United States, but now it's turned more to the Eastern, especially to China. So the short term is more and more Chinese big projects, like come to South Africa, Southern Africa, to help them develop the infrastructure projects. So the Chinese banks can help them to support these kind of projects, so direct benefit from that. Actually win-win projects. In the mid-term, so this market can also benefit from Chinese projects, Chinese banks, Chinese the experience.
Let's look at the interactions between the domestic financial institutions, the policy options of President Xi and Premier Li Keqiang, and their relevance for Africa. Obviously, we face the downward pressure of the Chinese economic development. Do you still enjoy the A+ rating?
The world market changed quickly, and the China is for the past more than 30 or even 40 years grew quickly, and how to cope with the new trend this domestic market and the external market is become more complicated. Actually, the central government already realized the challenge 5 years ago. That's why the government very clear published a lot of policy, try to restructure the whole industry portfolio. Not only depend on the external export import, but also the domestic, how to change the consuming industry. Not only the investment in infrastructure, because many provinces finish these kind of projects, and also find the new target market, for example, Africa. That's why the President Xi Jinping come here for so many times. I remember I also very lucky to meet him here for several times, because Africa, as I remember before I joined this market, 5 or even 8 years ago, I mentioned a lot of times, China will face a lot of challenge, say around the year 2018, according a lot of theory. Because 2008 is a financial crisis in the global market, then 2018 not easy for China.
Are you suggesting quietly that every 10 years we're going to have the curse of financial tsunami?
You can simply understand that, the solar, dot theory. Some theorists, experts mention that. But in China, we always prepare for 10 years, 5 years plan. That's why we manage that.
What we call the cyclical change or crisis.
Yes, yes. You can see that because China, the policy plan, you focus on the 5-year, 10-year, that match with the circle. And as I mentioned, not only Africa, actually the Middle and the East Europe also very good cooperation target market for China, and even Southern America, because you can find many industry structure is matched with China. China overdeveloped manufacturing, but this kind of regions, especially Africa, need more infrastructure projects, industrialization projects.
The next question in the broad context of China's downward pressure of the economic performance, such as the alleged devaluation of RMB. PBOC denied vehemently that there is any legitimate basis for further devaluation of RMB. In fact, we don't manipulate the exchange rate, the exchange regime. Whatever the policy statements from PBOC, what do you think of the financial risks concerning the prospects of RMB?
Yes, RMB is become more important in the global financial market compared with several years ago. Because more and more countries, they prefer to store renminbi as their storage currency, because they want to benefit from the whole China's development, not only for the currency issue, but also the China also want to share with them how to develop to support the trade cooperation, because that's the basic the reason why so many countries want benefit from that. So for the PBOC, they understand very well the global market, like the United States dollar and the European dollar and some other new emerging markets currency. So the fundamental support factor is still the macroeconomy of the whole country. If the economic country of the country is become strong or the currency is still strong, but for the United States recently so complicated or challenge the complication between two countries because make the currency become more complicated. For the central banks, you want to keep the currency stable, not let directly intervene because the market still need renminbi. For example, African countries, many countries still like the renminbi.
The importance of economic fundamentals of the macroeconomic performance are critically important, of course. Now, one of the central tasks of President Xi Jinping currently is to prevent systematic financial risks. What kind of preventive measures have you taken to minimize the impact of whatever negative assessment about the systematic financial risks?
I think it's currently become more risky, the network or online banking or the P2P, this kind of the products developed, overdeveloped, and in China's market. But it's the financial market, if you want to keep it more steady, to elevate the systemic risk, should focus on the fundamental economy, the manufacturing, still focus on the real projects, not the financial products developed by themselves, become more the overdeveloped products, then become more risky. If the banks, financial institutions focus on for example, middle and west regions, still some regions need to develop their infrastructure projects.
Yet another major obstacle that may prevent the further development of CCB and its ambition in Africa is not only the capital account, which remains yet to be further opened. The other thing that captured international attention is our prevention of a further outbound flight of capital to minimize the financial risks. Do you think you will be the first casualty of such policy restrictions?
Yes, recently it has become more complicated. In the past days, China support the capital to support the Chinese company to go to the abroad. But now, because not only domestic reason, but also the global market become more risky. For the Africa, I think it's maybe some countries, some regions, a little bit different, because China's the companies, they found they're good at some infrastructure projects. They can support Southern African, a lot of projects can benefit from two sides. Not only improve the local market, but also the Chinese companies can also benefit from that. For these kind of projects, I strongly believe the government, the whole country still strongly support these kind of projects.
For example, we have the National Development Bank and EXIM.
Yeah.
These are the financial institutions or arms that the government in Beijing employs to facilitate the execution of Belt and Road Initiative. As you mentioned earlier, repeatedly, the building of infrastructure in Africa, the essential part of the industrialization in this continent. But do you think you find yourselves competing with the homegrown competitors, to say nothing of the local financial institutions?
From my personal view, I never thought it's strongly competed with this kind of
you have
brother or sister.
You have acquired the policy coordination between among the
that's a core point. Because, for example, large projects in the first stage or early stage, the policy banks involve a lot because it's the interest. The kind of projects can benefit from the policy banks is the low interest. But for the medium and long term, they need more commercial banks to organize syndication. Otherwise, it's the big projects, even for the policy banks, they cannot cover the request of the finance. So we need to organize the global financial like institution to contribute to the large project.
Inevitably, our discussion here on this occasion has to focus on what's going on between the two biggest economies, the United States and China. The Trump administration is seriously concerned with the industrial policies of the Chinese authorities, such as, for example, the state support of financial institutions. Now, you mentioned the differences between commercial banks and policy banks. To what degree do you think you would rely more on the market to stimulate your growth here?
Because the African market is quite a big market. Potential is very great, the potential market. So it's, even for the policy market, the banks, they cannot solve so many demands. Especially the policy banks is sometimes need to get government's guarantee. For the commercial banks, they need to understand the risk, the really risk. They need to solve the risk. Even sometimes, for example, we invited the Central Shore to provide the credit guarantee for that. But in many projects, for example, CGB, we provided a lot of finance to the local top 100 stock listed companies. Directly or fully depend on this client's credit themselves, not less provided a guarantee from where. So that means the commercial banks still play a very important role, especially for the local financial institution. When they want to get some money, get a very good or cheap fund from the global market, we look at here, we understand them well, we can help them. We provide a good fund for them.
Thank you so much. We'll be back in a short while. Stay with us, please. Do you think your employees who come from Taiwan can understand your values and your local African colleagues understand Chinese culture so that you develop a profound understanding based on mutual trust?
We more open, more localized, not only the Chinese culture like this bank. That's why more than 80% of the colleagues are local, different background, diversified culture. If you like this bank, as I always mention it, this branch is your branch. Expat is only for a short period, several years, they must leave. But as a local, even the Taiwanese colleagues, they can stay here forever until they retire. So they love this branch, they contribute to this branch.
Welcome back, sir. Now let's look at your relationship with technology companies. Tencent and Alibaba have all found their ways into the African continent. Do you try to have financial vehicles in relationship with, in response to the IT giants like BAT here in Africa? To what degree do you think this will represent the hope of your further expansion here?
I can tell you, in China, CGB developed the fintech very well. We established the fintech company recently, and according to the whole market in China, they think the CGB is the best. That's why we set that kind of company to provide the financial technology to support other large Chinese banks and medium-sized banks. I know also CGB cooperated with Alibaba or some other the IT companies and developed a lot of products. And this year, the head office organized a big conference, invite all the global CGB branches like the general manager to come back to visit Wuhan cloud data center to impress so many of us. And actually CGB, we established this kind of center in Wuhan, Shanghai, and Beijing. So well developed. But in Africa, we know full of risk. South Africa is the well-developed countries in respect to the IT technology. I also know Alibaba or some other Tencent. You know the Tencent's largest shareholder located in South Africa is NASPA, also our client. We communicate a lot for the whole business, the new business model, online banking, how to develop to support the trader, the foreign exchange, the transaction online. But it's still new trend. I know in Kenya, the well-developed, many people, they pay everything through cell phone banking. But in Africa, in so many countries, the Wi-Fi is still low efficiency, even South Africa. So they need the telecommunication technology open to the market, then they can develop well. Otherwise, the cost, the efficiency, very low. So you cannot develop your own online banking so quickly.
With the end of apartheid and the ANC being the ruling party for the past 20 years also, now, very much like the vantage point of the huge domestic market in China in our trade war with the United States, we can come across as poised, and we know where our competitive edge is. Look at similarly in South Africa. Do you think the domestic market in South Africa relies on the consumption and the big appetites of the middle class, and most of them are the black people in this country? To what degree do you think you pin your hopes on the demands of the middle class in terms of e-commerce and online payment? We're talking about innovation. That should be the driving force for your next round of expansion.
In South Africa, the consuming industry is quite developed. It's different from other countries. You can find their salary not quite high, but many people rush into the shopping center. So many well-developed shopping center. You can find not only the middle-class people, even the low-level people, they prefer consuming. Never think about a deposit. That's why even in your branch, sometimes the colleagues will come to you, please borrow some money, because we consume up everything. So you can find these countries consuming habit different from the international market. No matter the middle class, low level, you can find full of opportunity. That's why you can find so many people, they hold a cell phone. That's the business opportunity for banking. How to, like in China, WeChat, pay everything. Here, you can also take advantage of this kind of habit.
We had a dialogue with Africa in Cape Town, and 4 of the panelists are all locals, either a former member of the parliament, a member of the ANC, or entrepreneurs as well as scholars from universities. They all focused on one critical issue of digital technology, whether that will help South Africa and other major economies of this continent to catch up quickly. In Chinese, we have the corner overtaking, Wandao Chaozhe. They seem to be very optimistic about the pervasive use of digital technology in closing the gap between rich and poor, between developed and developing countries. Do you think in this particular area, CCB, along with other Chinese financial institutions, will play a big role?
I think in the short period it's difficult, because the market is strictly monitored or managed. For example,
South Africa might be a very nice exception compared with other catch-up economies in Africa, because of the infrastructure, education.
Yes. For example, NTM or banks is all the other African countries finally come from South Africa. Even the shopping center like ATM, the post machine, very popular. Actually, the technology is supported by South Africa. But in South Africa, you may know, you may not know, very strictly managed the foreign exchange. Because this kind of the transaction, you're more open to the other African country or even to the global market. Foreign exchange control very strict here. Even some industry monopoly, telecommunication or the bank, they not easily to compete or to open to the market. That's why we limit the technology developed in a short period. But I strongly believe in the certain period, as you mentioned, it's a very huge business opportunity for South Africa. If you develop this kind of business very well, you can also spread it to other Southern African countries. They can benefit a lot. So that will become true in the medium term.
One more question before we close this very enlightening discussion about your future and the realities here in South Africa. If you are able, the question is, if you are able to forge very good relationship with the locals and even with the Taiwanese colleagues, because one of the prerequisites for normalizing the relationship between Beijing and Johannesburg, Pretoria and Cape Town is severing the official ties between Taiwan and mainland China. Now, do you think your employees who come from Taiwan can understand your values? I mean, your local African colleagues understand Chinese culture so that you develop a profound understanding based on mutual trust, because this could be part of the corporate culture, corporate responsibility culture of CCB.
Yes, it's a very good question. Actually, it depends on our branch here, what kind of culture inside. Our culture is very clear, one big happy family, always sometimes say like a rainbow culture. No matter what kind of background you come from, especially from Taiwan. A lot of Taiwanese, like our colleagues, like 5, like in different departments, even in IT or like finance, very core department. Actually, many of them, like the second generation or even third generation, they stay in South Africa for many, many years. And CCB, we more open, more localized, not only the Chinese culture like this. That's why more than 80% of the colleagues are local, different background, diversified culture. If you like this bank, like as I always mention it, this branch is your branch. Like expat is only for a short period, several years, they must leave. But as a local, even the Taiwanese colleagues, they can stay here forever until they retire. So they love this branch. They contribute to this branch. We talk more about it, the branch culture, the local bank's culture, how to support, understand the local market, how to understand each other. For example, we organize BCD, the Bank Communication Day, once quarterly. Each time, there's one Chinese, no matter like Taiwanese or from mainland, you introduce yourself, your family, your life story, your culture. And another colleague from the local, they introduce themselves, then understand each other, then combine together.
Thank you so much. You are able to brief our audience about not only the alleged sharp power of the business strength and the competitive edge of CCB, along with other Chinese financial institutions, but also soft power of Chinese culture. That will help CCB, hopefully, to get further integrated with the rest of the local society. With that, we'll come to the end of this discussion with Mr. Zhang, the president of the CCB local branch in Johannesburg. I'll see you next time.